The procedures in this video will remove the left downpipe from a 2003 Audi Allroad manual transmission. First, you want to put the vehicle in jack mode. If you're an Allroad owner, you should know what that is. Then you want to loosen the lug nuts from the front wheel, then raise the car. Note that the car must be raised high enough for the downpipe to come out the bottom. Now this is the downpipe. This downpipe is broken at the flex joint. Remove the transmission stabilizer bar. This one is aftermarket, so yours may be different. Remove two 13mm bolts from the transmission mount. Do this on both sides. In case you're wondering why both sides, you will need to tilt the transmission forward later. Remove the downpipe stabilizer bolt. That is the one with the spring on it. Swing the assembly to the side. From the side of the vehicle, remove the 10mm bolt from the transmission mount heat shield. Lift the heat shield up and remove the 16mm bolt from the transmission mount. Loosen the downpipe heat shield while you're here. Remove the driveshaft heat shield. These are three 6mm hex bolts. Remove the transmission mount. You can do this by tilting the transmission with a jack or use a pry bar to pry the transmission mount out. Note that there's a large washer on top of it. Do not lose this. Now I'm going to remove the left transmission mounting bracket. This is held down by three 8mm hex bolts, two at the bottom and one at the top. The one to the left at the bottom can be accessed through a hole in the bracket. You will need a long extension 8mm hex socket. To access the one on top, you will need to go up the front of the drive shaft and over and then back and access it that way. If the drive shaft was disconnected from the flange, this would have been much easier, but I choose not to remove the drive shaft because that would mean more time for me. Tilt the transmission and remove the transmission mounting bracket. Now in this view, I'm just showing you how much space you have now to actually get the downpipe out. Using a 17mm wrench, remove the two nuts that are visible on the turbocharger flange. As you can see, the upper one cannot be accessed with a closed wrench, so you may have to use an open end wrench to access this one. Tilt the transmission forward slightly. Space between the firewall and the engine is very tight, so you will need to do this to give you better access. Here's a look at the space. As you can see, nothing is accessible without moving stuff, so that's the next step. Remove the coolant reservoir and put it to the side. Remove the wire ties that hold down the main engine harness. Remove the heat shield from the combi valve hose. Using a 10mm wrench, remove the ground wires from the body. Slightly remove the wire harness to the side. Remove the heat shield from the harness bracket. To do this, use a flat blade screwdriver and press the little plastic tabs and pull the heat shield forward. You will see 4 wire harness, a black, a gray, a blue, and a brown. The black is for the top oxygen sensor, and the brown is for the lower rear oxygen sensor. Disconnect all of them. Remove the harness bracket. These plastic nuts are 12 millimeter. Here's a better look of how the heat shield fit to the mounting bracket. As you can see, it's held in by little tabs on each end. So to remove, you need to press the little tabs, then pull forward. Remove the hose from the combi valve. To do this, squeeze the top and the bottom portion of the hose while using a pry bar to pry the hose off. This may take a little time to do. Just be patient and don't break anything. You then want to disconnect the same hose from the centerpiece and move it towards the right of the engine. Now here's the first look of what you're trying to remove. You have one bolt to the left. There's a 5 millimeter bolt to the left that holds down the heat shield, and another 5 millimeter bolt to the right. And that bolt in the center is a 17 millimeter bolt that is one of the flange bolts that hold down the downpipe to the turbocharger. Using a 5 millimeter hex socket and a long extension, remove the heat shield bolts. Use an angled 17mm to remove the flange nut. Go back to the bottom, move the heat shield out of the way and remove the last nut from the flange. At this point, you could choose to remove the lower oxygen sensor by twisting the wires, or you could take the complete wire out from the engine bay. I did not want to twist the wires, so I choose to take the complete harness out along with the downpipe. The oxygen sensor wire is fastened to the top of the transmission. This is very hard to access, very hard to get to. And the one I'm showing you in this picture right now is something that I had replaced before, and actually choose these bright colors so I could easily see it. If you notice, it's not that tight either. I just make a loop so the wires won't go anywhere. There's no need to tighten it real tight like how the factory has it. It just makes it more difficult to cut. This wire runs along the transmission from the back on the right side, then underneath the shift lever stabilizer and up towards engine compartment. To get the harness out, you need to move towards the left and feed it underneath the transmission shifter stabilizer. Remove the nuts from the connector piece that join the downpipe to the rest of the exhaust system. Use an acetylene torch if you have one. Locate the wire harness for the top oxygen sensor and feed the wire through the downpipe heat shield, and take the downpipe out along with the oxygen sensor still in place. Careful with the wires coming through the downpipe heat shield. As you can see, the downpipe is out and the drive shaft is still connected and it was not removed. Do not take the heat shield out, leave the heat shield in place. It is very difficult to get back in if you actually even get it out. This is due to the clutch slave cylinder that's in the way.